So just try to let go of any stiffness, tension in body, mind. Make yourself relax, comfortable. And try to keep your back straight. It always helps to be more awake, alert. And take in, breathe in and out naturally without trying any more effort, just natural. And try to keep your mind attention, watching and observing as you inhale and exhale. Observing and being aware. Once your mind has settled down, more quiet, then we can try to contemplate as long as we don't take care of our mind. If we don't take care of our mind, and if our mind is overpowered by negative disturbing emotions, such as from craving, anger, hatred, jealousy, ignorance, impatience, as long as overpowered by strong selfish attitude, then we will always find unhappy, disturbed, agitated by those mind in that moment. When our mind is agitated, disturbed by those disturbing negative emotions, no matter how the good external conditions are in that moment, there's no real peace. No real peace, no real joy, happiness in that moment. Therefore, it's clear with our own experience. If we want to find more peace, more joy, more happiness in our life, we need to reduce and destroy or eliminate those disturbing negative emotions. Just changing external condition cannot bring true inner peace, joy, and happiness. And to be able to reduce those disturbing negative emotions, we need to contemplate, meditate, practice correctly, continuously, until we are able to do that. And for that, we need to continue to learn, study about those practices, meditations. Not only learn, but also try to practice what we have learned as much as possible. And the less we have those disturbing negative emotions, the less we hurt and harm others, and the more we are able to help and benefit others. instead of impatience when you are more patient, instead of anger and hatred when you are more kindness, loving kindness, compassion, instead of jealousy when you feel happy for their happiness, their success, their goodness. When you have more wisdom instead of ignorance, when you have true sense of concern for others instead of selfish attitude, definitely we will be able to be more health benefit to others. On minimum level, we will not hurt and harm them intentionally. Therefore, for the happiness of others and our own happiness, it's so important to train our mind through practice meditations. May all of us coming here together to listen, to engage in discussions, and all of that. May all of this become cause and conditions to actualize our own highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can be greatest health benefit to all other sentient beings and ourselves. Okay, so who's leading the prayer? Could you read the stuff?
Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha 3 times.
Hold on, let me get the sharing started.
The founder, the endowed,
the one God on the island,
both
destroyed,
The
completely
contemplated
perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good will, still not of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shaka clan. I prostrate my offerings in miracle refuge.
to the founder,
The endowed constantly destroyer, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and miracle conduct, Sugat that knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shaka clan. I prostrate make offerings and go for refuge.
to the founder,
Transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and miracle conduct, God the knower of the world, supreme God of human beings to eternity, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the pure from the Shaka clan. I prostrate my offerings and look for refuge.
short mandala offering, 1 time in English. This grammar
The king was treasured of flowers, the dawn of Lord without memory, for the darkness, the skies of heaven. Maybe I just with a people offer. May all living beings enjoy this pure land.
Taking refuge in generating bodhicitta, once in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge
to the Buddha, the Lord, Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Lord. May I become the Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodam La Chan Chupa Dudam Cham Sushi Raji Chodam Jay Place Ji Drove up and cheers Sanjay Drupa Show. Sangye Chodam Chodam La Chan Chupa Dudam Cham Sushi Raji Chodam Jay Place Ji Drove up and cheers Sanjay Drupa Show.
So we have been going through this particular sutra known as Rice Seedling Sutra forever, never ending. I thought it would be maybe 4 or 5 sessions, but it became 10, 12 sessions.
This is number 13, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we all are ready to move on.
Yeah.
And I thought we would finish it last week, but we didn't, but we were almost there. So again, as you can see, the main subjects, the main point of this sutra, the main subject of this sutra is dependent arisings. And especially by explaining the outer dependent arisings, and through that giving as an example, and then explaining the internal dependent arisings, what is known as pure dependent link, how one cause, it is the chain of cause that lead to certain result, So, and when you cut one of those chain, then it cut continuity of that. Until we cut that, then there's constantly, circling, unending that. One cause leading to the next, and starting from the ignorance. And that is the first chain of, due to the ignorance, then we create actions. Due to the ignorance, different other negative emotion arises, anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, all those different negative emotion arises. And by arising those negative emotions, then we engage in actions. We engage in the action on different levels, sometimes on mental level. Then we started to, because you're angry, then you started to have negative thought about that person's evil feelings, you wish something bad happened to them, something like that. So in your mind, even you don't say anything, and even you don't act physically, but in your mind, you started to have all these negative thoughts. That is actions. Now you have created actions in your mind. Sometimes we are not satisfied with that. Then we have to say something, Until we say something, you feel like not satisfied, You feel like you cannot hold, you feel like I have to say something nasty, in different ways, sarcastic way or, harsh, different way of saying it, but something, and some will say that. And then when you say that again, you create another actions through your speech. You create actions through your mind and speech. sometimes we are not satisfied with even with that, having said something nasty, harsh speech. You become physically violent. You act physically violent. And in such cases, then you also create action through the body. So what you call three doors: the mind, the speech, and the physical actions. Sometimes we create action through all of them, sometimes just two of them, sometimes just one, sometimes just on mental level. But by engaging in such actions, then we create what we call the karmic potentials, and that actions, through that actions, that potential is planted or implanted in your consciousness, in your consciousness, to ripen a similar result, in the futures. And then, in these cases, then at the time of death, then one of those complete karma can be activated by craving and grasping, and then through that, then we create our karmic potential seed that is in our consciousness has been watered now through the craving and grasping, giving the moisture, activating that, and then is fully activated to produce the result. So in that cases, then we talk about the 6 cause, the 6 of those link from the 12 link: ignorance, karmic formations, the consciousness on which the karmic seed is planted, and at the time of craving, grasping, and through the craving and grasping, that karmic seed is fully potentialized, and then what is known as becoming or existing. So all 6 causes, all the causes that come together to produce a result. And as a result, from the many lifetime, then in next life you take a rebirth. As a result of that karma, it can be human rebirth, higher rebirth such as human rebirth, or as an animal rebirth, for example, or other beings. And when you have that rebirth, especially when you have rebirth in terms of mother's wombs, then the moment the consciousness, the moment there is the conceptions, sperm and eggs, undefected sperm and eggs, and all the right conditions to produce a life come together, and consciousnesses come together, and that conceptions during that, then that is where it starts. That's where the other links, name and form, that means the 5 aggregates are there. From there, then with the time, over the time, days, weeks, months, the 6 faculties started to develop. At the very beginning, you cannot see, you cannot hear, you cannot smell, because senses are not developed fully. Over the time, those senses develop, and when their sense are developed, then your consciousness is able to see the shape, colors through your eye senses. You are able to hear the sound through the ear senses, and so forth. That is the other link, the 6 senses, 6 sense source or faculties. And then when those 6 senses are developed, then there's a contact with the objects. Now your mind or conscience is able to come in contact with the objects through the senses. Your eye conscience is able to see the form and the shape, color through the eye sense faculties. come in contact. Having come in contact with the objects, then we started to distinguish this is good, bad, nice. This is something I need. This is something I don't need. This is something helpful. This is beneficial. So our mind distinguish or interpret differently with that contact. And by depending on how we interpret that objects and distinguish that, then we have different feelings in relation to that objects. You know, when my mind distinguish through contact, this is attractive, this is desirable. When you come in contact with that object, good feeling, nice feeling, pleasant feeling. Our mind distinguish and interpret that object as something undesirable, something unattractive, bad. When we come in contact with that object, then there is an unpleasant feeling, not nice feelings. So different feeling arises in relation to the contact and how, on the basis of contact, how we distinguish, how we interpret those objects. And based on those feelings, so those, those are that. And then, then there is the birth, at the time of conception, as well as later coming out of the mother's womb. And then the moment that, birth started, from that started the aging and death. From that moment, aging started. And as we discussed before, there are two kinds of aging, progressive aging and deteriorating aging. But from the very beginning, it started aging. At the very beginning, progressive aging. After a certain age, deteriorating aging, which I'm just starting. My body is saying that. You don't want to believe that, you want to believe that I'm still young, but your body says, no, you have started that deteriorating aging, So then eventually, our life comes to an end, what we call death, And so that, and in between the birth and the death, so many suffering that we have to go through, so many problem, pain, suffering that we go through, why we have to go through all of that? Why do we need to go through all those pain, sufferings of so many, the suffering of not getting what we want, the suffering of encountering that we don't want, all of those sufferings because of our own delusions, and the karma, So that is the 12th link. That is the main subjects. That's the main subject here in this sutra. See where we are. I don't know if anyone will remember where. Page number 13 or 12?
Yes, 13,
And do you remember with the
third paragraph, I think.
third? Yeah. Okay. Because page number 12 here said the inner dependent arisings, is in terms of sin and five aspects. What are those five aspects? Not permanent, not discontinuous, as invoked as migration, as the formation large result from small cause, and as a continuity of similar type. So then it goes more what it means, each of them. So I think here in the third paragraph, third or fourth?
It's the fourth.
Yeah, I think it's the fourth. In the fourth then it is saying, how does it entail the formation of large result from small causes? So again, what it is saying, even small causes can produce big result, and that's the nature of those, conditioned phenomena. You plant a small seed in terms of external outer world, and then the tree grow very big, some of trees, and then produce so many fruits, But when you plant it, it was very small. So small can produce big. And when it comes to internal, the law of cause and effect, karmic law of cause and effect, then even small karmic potential can bring a big result. And so therefore, as Buddha explained in some other sutras, when it comes to negative karma, non-virtuous actions, even it seems very small and it's insignificant, don't be careless. Try to avoid, even it seems very small, because the result can be big. Over the time, the result can be very big. In the same way, if there is something positive, virtuous things, positive karma, that opportunity to create that, even if it seems very insignificant, very small, try to do that. Try to engage in that. Don't think that is too small, is too insignificant. Even it seems very small, insignificant, as long as it's virtuous, as long as something positive, try to engage whenever you get any opportunity to do that. The result over the time can be big. So that is why similar here. A ripening of large result is experienced from having performed small actions. Thus, it entails the formation of large result from small cause. In one of the sutta, Buddha says, drop of water seems insignificant to make any difference. But then there is continued to drop of water, fill the buckets, and become significant. That you can use to water plant, use for washing, use for drinking, whatever, So similarly, one drop seems very small, but again, you shouldn't be careless. And then that is the fourth aspect or the qualities. And the fifth one, it involves a continued of similar type because of ripening of action experience precisely according to action performs. So just in an outer world, external world, all these plant, everything's, they grow on the basis of the cause. Without the cause, they wouldn't grow. The results depend on cause. And the cause produce the result. But not every cause produce every kind of result. It has to be similar. It has to have the potential to produce. So if you plant a chili seed, it has the potential to produce a chili plant and chili. It doesn't have the potential to produce an apple when it grows. In other ways, same, when you plant an apple seed, it has the potential to produce apple plant and apple fruit. It doesn't have the potential to produce chili. So the cause and the result had to be similar. Same apply to internal law of cause and effect. our actions, our non-virtues, unskillful non-virtues or unwholesome actions produce unpleasant experience of suffering. It can never produce pleasant experience of happiness because the cause is unpleasant, unwholesome. Because the cause is unpleasant, unwholesome, the result will be something unpleasant. On the other hand, when you engage into something wholesome, positive, virtuous, result will be something positive, pleasant, experience of happiness. So therefore, that's why the result is very arises or is produced very precisely according to what kind of cause it is. And so that is a definition of the karma. You engage in unwholesome action and you don't expect to have a pleasant experience. It's like planting a chili seed and expecting to have the apple when it grows. It doesn't follow that. It follows what kind of cause you planted. The result is very much precisely according to that. So that is very clear. So it is, and that is why they say karma is definitive. Karma is definitive in a sense. Negative karma always produces suffering, and positive karma always produces happiness. That's definite. Negative karma cannot produce happiness, and positive karma does not produce suffering. So that's where it is when it comes to that. So then here continues. Venerable Shariputra, Bodhisattva, here the Bodhisattva Maitreya, because this was conversation between two of them. Venerable Shariputra, this Shariputra was the Buddha's one of the main disciples. Whoever sees the perfect wisdom, this dependent arising, perfectly taught by the Bhagavan, the Buddha, as it actually is, as always and forever, without life force, devoid of life force. And what it means, each of them, I think we already went before at the very beginning. There was explanation that we went quite depth. What is this, each of those, because when you read it's just a term, it seems like what does that mean? But I don't want to go through each of them again. We have already gone through, it's kind of repetitions. Same, it repeat a couple of times. And the first time we went through each of them, what it means: without life force, devoid of life force, true, unmistaken, unborn, not arising, uncreated, unfounded, unobstructed, imperceptible, tranquil, fearless, unshaken, inexhaustible, and by nature never still. Basically, whoever sees the dependent arising, the subtle dependent arising, the wisdom that understand or realize the dependent arising, realize emptiness. Whoever realized emptiness, then there is stillness. When you have realized the emptiness, when you have directly realizing the emptiness, external, internal condition cannot agitate and disturb your mind. You have that stillness all the time, calm, peacefulness, and fearless, all of that, because you see everything's, you are able to see and experience, in truth, or ultimately, or in truth, there's no good and bad, there's no pain and suffering, There's no desirable, undesirable. There's no attractive, unattractive. So there's no enemy, no friends. And so then all this, whatever happens, doesn't affect your mind so much, disturb your mind, agitate your mind, because you are able to see in that emptiness, they all are equal. You have that ability to see at the moment we see those unequalness, attractive versus unattractive, happiness versus sufferings, all of that. And so therefore, our mind responds differently to that. And therefore it affects our minds. And so there is no tranquil, no peace, and stillness. But once you have that, then, so there's whoever fully and truly see it, the dependent arising, a subtle dependent arising, as unreal, vain, hollow, unsubstantial. In the Kamala Shila's commentaries, because up to here, by nature, there's that, I think it is the same repetition that we have gone through before, each of them. I'm just trying to see the exact translation. Unreal means, see it as unreal because they see everything's empty of inherent existence, even though there's appearance of inherent existence, but they understand they are empty of inherent existence or independent existence because everything's dependent arise. Because they see everything dependent arising, the appearance of the object to exist as a independent or inherently is not real. They see everything's like a dream. In the dream, you see something, but it's not really happening. You're just dreaming about it. Similarly, what the appearance and reality is different. So therefore, they see it as an unreal, Then here in Tibetan, it's just talk. And the ben here, I don't know is the exact, but it's here in commentary, it means, it's very vulnerable, not concrete, strong, hollow is like, again, hollow is there's no real essence, even though everything looks so real, but if you analyze deeply, then it is so hollow. It is not as so real, as true as it appeared to us, yeah, like a mirage. From distance, it looks so water. There is a water so real, but if you go closer, then you find out there's no real water. It was just a mirage. That appearance, the appearance of water in certain conditions is just a hollow, Just like a mirage, there's no real essence in that. Unsubstantial, substantial, meaning is there here. It says it's like a one of the example that you often find in the classical scriptures, sutra as well. It's like the banana trees, like the banana, what do you call the with the fruit grows, what do you call
Stop.
stalk? Is that stalk? Yeah, has no essence. It's very soft. Very soft. It's not so strong, concrete, and also it doesn't produce. Same stalk doesn't produce the banana same all the layers. So that is sometimes giving an example of this unsubstantial, no real essence. As a sickness, and here it says, thus our inner dependent arising as a sentient beings, samsaric sentient beings, as a sickness. Here it says, there in scripture they talk about three kinds of suffering: suffering of pain, suffering of change, all pervasive sufferings. And here is what it means by the sickness is how even the pleasant experience we experience are not true happiness. We experience joyful a little bit at the very beginning, but they change into something unpleasant. Like for example, you are feeling too cold, and the sun is out in the window, and you go in the outside to get some warmth, and you feel joy, warmness, nice feelings, pleasant feelings. After some time, then again you started to feel too warm. Then you have to go inside, or you have to put something on your head, because now it becomes a little bit unbearable. So that is example. And same thing. A lot of the things that we experience. Even though there is a little bit of joyfulness or pleasant feeling at the very beginning, but you continue to experience that, after some time it becomes something unpleasant. If you eat at the very beginning, there's pleasure in it. If you continue to eat it, after some time, there's no more joy that you had at the very beginning. It becomes something. So it's same. So that is why it is called, is like a sickness. In a sense, it becomes unbearable after some time. It changed into something unpleasant, like a sickness. A boil, and it is also like boil, because when boiled is unpleasant, and when you cut or split, it becomes even more pain, and that is suffering of pain. Our lives are already suffering. On top of that, then again we suffer more. Just having this samsaric life itself is suffering, and then on top of that we get headache, we break our legs. We have all different kind of illness, and sometimes different suffering of hunger, suffering of all this. So that is like boil. On top of the nature of suffering, the more pain, more sufferings. So therefore, it's like a throne, and and this one, so talk about suffering of all pervasives. And suffering all pervasive, what it means is, as long as we are not free from our own delusions and the karma, even when we are not experiencing any pain, even that itself is suffering because you have no control on your own life, yourself, because you are driven by your own delusion and karma. Not having control over that is a suffering. Being in the prison is a suffering. Even when you are not beaten and tortured, just being in prison, that you don't have the freedom. Not losing your freedom is a suffering. Same way, at the moment, we don't have control. I don't want to get angry, but sometimes anger take over me. I don't want to get jealousy, sometimes jealousy take over me. I don't want to be selfish, sometimes selfish. So all these negative, disturbing negative emotions arises even if you don't want. And even you try to, what does that show? That we don't have full control over them at the moment. And those negative emotions are the what was driving us to harm others when you should, even you don't want to hurt and harm someone, you hurt and harm because of those emotions. Even you don't want to hurt and harm yourself, due to one of those negative emotions, sometimes you hurt and harm yourself or others. Why do you harm yourself or others? Not because you want it, because one of those negative emotions overpower you and make you to do that in that moment. And that shows that we have no total control at this point. You can gain control over that with the practice meditations, but when you don't have control over that itself means you have lost your freedom. That means it's like being in a prison. And that means it's like what you call this all-pervasive sufferings. It doesn't mean physical pain or emotional pain, but just not having that freedom and being under the control that itself. As a miserables, yeah, due to those afflictive emotions and the karma, then it become miserable, impermanent, our life ever changing, our experience are ever changing, our mind thoughts are ever changing. So they are all impermanent, moment by moment, our physically changing with the change in our cells every moment. Old cells are dying, new cells are being produced, constantly change. Constantly our breath is changing moment by moment. Each breath you take in, each breath you breathe out is a difference. Each moment our mind are changing, emotion are changing. One moment we feel so confident, next moment we start to feel doubt. One moment we feel happy, next moment we feel so unhappy. One moment you feel compassion, another moment you feel so upset. One moment you feel, patience, and next moment you get very frustrated, impatient. So constantly changing, and our life is also changing. So therefore, there are of this, the samsaric life is, impermanent and is painful. Samsaric life is always painful. And when you accept, it becomes less painful. You deny that, you are in denial mode, then it becomes more painful. Because the nature is painful. By nature, you cannot, and then you are trying to fight against the reality fact. Instead, by accepting the life is painful, But how can we make it less painful? How can we reduce the pain from becoming unbearable? Sometimes, like for example, certain people have chronic illness, and they have to deal with that. They have to live with that, and you accept that. But there are certain things that you can manage from getting worse. The discomfort is there because it's chronic. There's no total cure to that. So you have to live with that discomfort. But there are certain things, action you take to from becoming so unbearable that you cannot function. Similarly, same, samsaric life is painful sufferings, and it's all about how can we manage within that to make it less painful, less sufferings. Empty, and because interdependent arising samsaric life is empty of inherent existence, empty of independent existence because they are interdependent, dependent arisings, selfless because there's no substantial, and separate self from the aggregates. There's no self which is separate from your aggregates, and substantial which is controlling your aggregates, and so there's no self. Such a person does not, and when you have such understanding, how everything's, including the interdependent arisings, the samsaric life is impermanent, is in the nature of sufferings, is empty, is a selflessness. When one person with such understanding, realizations, then one person does not reflect on the past, past limit thinking. Did I exist in the past or not? What was I in the past? A lot of time we have all these thoughts, did I exist? Was there past life? Not, was there my past life or not? Did I exist in the past or not? Was I human beings in the past? Was I animal in the past? Was I, another being? We become very kind of obsessed, and all these thinkings. How was I in the past with such all these cautions? But when you have realization and emptiness, all this caution doesn't bother you. This kind of cautions doesn't bother you. At the moment, it bothers us a lot with all these cautions. Also, nor does such persons reflect on the future limit thinkings, will I exist in the future or not? Will there be continuity of me or not? Will I exist in the future or not? What will I be in the future? Will I be, if there is a continuity of futures, will I be born as a human being? Will I be born as an animal? What kind of animal? What kind of where? What kind of being? And such questions. How will I be in the future? And what will I be happy? Will I be not happy? Will I have all of this again? Limited caution, and again, all this can bother you, And with all this bothering you, it can give you a lot of fear, worry, anxiety, such things. But someone when we have that understanding, it doesn't bother them that with these limited thinkings. So they don't have the fear, they don't have the anxiety, they don't have the worry that I might be born in in unpleasant places, unpleasant rebirth, that I will experience pain, suffering. They wouldn't be so bothered by that. They wouldn't be so fearful, anxiety, worried about that. All of that, Nor does such persons reflect on the present occurrence, thinking, what is this? How is this? Being what? What exists? What will we become? All of this, and Where does this come from? Where will it go when it starts migrating from here at the death, So when I die, where will I go? What will happen? Is there continuity or not continuity? If there's continuity, where will I go? What will happen? All these kind of things which normally bothers us and thereby lead to a lot of, different feelings, worry, fear, anxiety. So so then bother, it doesn't give you any kind of anxiety, fear, worry about what happens in the future, what happened in the past, what is happening in the present. Your mind, you are able to keep your mind calm, peaceful in the moment, calm, still, that, not bothered by all of that. And fear, anxiety, guilt, because sometimes when you reflect about the past, then we started to recreate, and not only regret, the unhealthy regret and guilty feelings and all of that bother us, when we don't have realization of those, you know, mm, the nature of impermanent, the nature of uh, um, suffering, the nature of emptiness, selfless, and then all this thought about past can lead us to have a lot of unhealthy regret, guilt feeling, and many other negative feelings, thoughts. When you think of futures, again, it can give rise to a lot of fear, worry, anxiety, and so forth. And all this happens because of, not realizing all of those. But once you realize that, then all this doesn't happen. Whichever dogmas, medicine and Brahma hold throughout the world, whether they involve belief in self, belief in being, belief in life force, so these are all same, self, being, life force, persons. And of course, each of them have little meaning, believe in the self as a, some of the school of thought, believe in that there's permanent self, and that is negated by the Buddha, and also there's believe in permanent beings, permanent life force, permanent persons, and believe in auspicious signs, goodwill. Such dogma prone to the agitation and dullness are all abandoned at that times. So due to belief in that kind of, permanent self, so again, even though all conditioned phenomena are impermanent, including the self, the being, the persons, believing they're permanent, then it gives to many other affective emotions to arises. When you have this grasping it as being permanent, also, even though the nature of some Sara is sufferings, but when you believe they are the true happiness, again, it gives to a lot of disappointments, And I see that in this world, a lot of people being very disappointed, disillusioned with the whole world and existence, everything, because they have this fantasy that the world is perfect, should be perfect, can be perfect. So then when they see these imperfections and all these shortcomings of the human beings who live in this world, and due to that, all then they become so disillusioned and so hopeless and lead them in a very negative state of mind. And that can happen. But from Buddhist point of view, samsaric life, samsara is full of problems. suffering, the nature of that is sufferance. So what can you expect from that? You know, all we can do is we try to improve ourselves. You know, all we can do is how can we improve ourselves? By improving ourselves, we might be able to also influence and do something better for others as well. And so that, because of that, it happened, because believing in that is being a, happiness. And believing, even though it's empty of inherent existence, believing it is an inherent existence, that there is a, independent inherent existence. Even though it's selfless, believing there is a, self. So due to all of that, so then such agitations and other negative feeling, emotion arises. But when you're understanding realization of impermanent nature of suffering, emptiness, and separateness, all this will be abandoned. All these agitations, all these negative emotion, delusion will be cut because you cut the root of them, the ignorance. By cutting the root of all those afflictive emotions, then you are able to cut and abandon all of them. So that's what fully understood, false. And those dogmas are severe at the root, when you understand, even though there is appearance permanent, even though there's appearance of happiness, even though there's appearance of truly existence and self, but you don't believe in that appearance because you understand in reality that's how they exist. Therefore, you understand them, thus appearance being false, deceptive. So you don't fall into that deceptions because you understand they are false and deceptive, those appearance. And when you understand that, then all these, wrong views and delusions are severe at the root, with a weather like a head of palm tree, never to arise or cease in the future. So when you cut is that the palm tree from the, if you cut the head, it will not grow? I think it should be root,
Yes.
not the head. When you cut from the very root, then it will not grow again and it will not come in the future. Giving that example. Venerable Shariputra, whoever is endowed with such acceptance of the Dharma, which is everything's dependent arisings, that Dharma, that understanding. Whoever is endowed with such acceptance of the Dharma and thus perfectly understand dependent arising is propitious for exiled, perfect and complete awakening by Tathagata, the Arhat, perfectly completely awakened one. So that is the Buddha, the one with perfect knowledge and conduct, Sudha, the Lord of the world, incomparable, charitable man who need taming, teacher of God, image, the Bhagwan, the Buddha. In this way, such person will become perfect and complete Buddhas. So once we have a direct understanding realizations of dependent arising, subtle dependent arisings, such persons is progressed by the Buddha that in the future you will become the Buddha. You will be the fully awakened, enlightened, because you have endowed or you have actualized or developed this Dharma, the wisdom realizing the dependent arising directly, the emptiness directly, that can cut all the delusions from the very root of it. And when you cut all the delusions and all the obscurations by that wisdom, through the help of the compassion, bodhicitta mind, then you are able to overcome all the obscuration. Having overcome, when you overcome all the obscuration, then you become fully awakened, enlightened, the so-called Buddha. Buddha means someone who is fully awakened. Who is what is fully awakened means? Fully awakened means, someone who's free from all the obscurations. The obscurations of defilements, when there's no more defilement or delusions, a little emotion, as well as the imprint led by those delusions, which is the subtle obscurations. And when you are free from that, and then you are fully awake, and there's no need to awake anymore. There's nothing to be awake from. After the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Maitreya had thus spoken, Venerable Shariputra, together with the world of God, human, Asura, Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised what Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Maitreya had taught, and so they also as in, even though it's not here, but in Heart Sutra, where at the end the Buddha said, well said, it's like that, as you have just indicated. So even though it is not said, but the Buddha will have said to the Bodhisattva Maitreya, what you just mentioned is well said, well said. It is like that, as you have spoken. This concludes the Noble Mind Sutra, the Rice Seedling. Any questions? Yes.
I want to just thank you for your explanation of all that. It's very helpful to me.
Thank you.
Along similar ways, I've had this teaching maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years, and I think maybe I'm at the point of understanding 90% of it. So thank you.
If you understood 90, that's great. So then I think since we have little time, I'm going to, because many of you have seen these pictures, Wheel of the Life, what is known as the Wheel of the Life. You see a lot of those paintings by the monasteries. If you go to the monastery on the front by the door, and it's called Wheel of the Life. And this is related with the subject that we are talking about. This is called the Lord of the Dead.
A big picture on that too.
I don't know how to do it.
Okay.
We have to link his computer directly.
So this guy, fearful guy, symbolized Lord of the Dead, and that his hands and feet are holding, and in his mouth all these things that symbolize, death could come any moment, just as he can kind of close the mouth. Similarly, it symbolized the death could come anytime, any moment. And then in the middle, there are 3 animals. There's a pig, there's a snake, there's a bird. And the bird and the snakes coming from the mouth of the pig. The pig symbolizes ignorance. The snake symbolizes anger. And the bird symbolizes attachments. And these are known as the 3 main root delusions. And not only their main delusion, even the anger and the attachments coming from the mouth of the pig show that they arise because of the ignorance. So that shows the 3, what we call 3 poisonous root delusions. Due to those root delusions, then we engage in actions, sometimes wholesome, sometimes unwholesome. We call negative karma, positive karma. Okay? Positive action, negative actions. This black symbolizes negative actions. These white symbolize positive actions. Due to them, then we create either contaminated positive actions or negative actions. And here on the white, it is presented, they're going up. And so that means, when you create positive karma, then it's getting better, as a result. Negative karma all going down, when you create negative karma, then you'll experience your life getting worse and worse, more suffering, more pain. So it symbolizes that. Then due to the negative karma, then we take rebirth. These are the 6 realms. These are the 6 realms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And due to the negative karma, especially if negative karma is full, complete negative karma, then, we can take rebirth, in the hell realm, hungry ghost. Where is hungry ghost? This is the animal, and this is the hungry ghost, and this hungry ghost. So again, these are known as 3 lower realms. And again, of course, they are not permanent, each of them impermanent, all of them impermanent. You can get there, you can get out of there. It's moving from one to another. It is just in sense of the pain, there's more intense sufferings, but it doesn't mean you're permanently there. Constantly, we have been there before, everywhere from Austin, we have been everywhere, all of there, many times. And then these are the higher rebirth. Due to the contaminated positive karma, then either we take rebirth, this is human, this is demigod, and this is God realms. Those 3 are known as higher realms. So again, we are taking all of those rebirth, And so in this, due to the karma, which is motivated by the delusion, then we take rebirth in one of those 6 realms. And then when you take rebirth in those 6 realms, then, here the persons, blind persons. So in the very end, there's 12, and this symbolizes those 12 links. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that shows the 12 link. Here, with the blind person with a stick, ignorance, symbolize the ignorance, first link. Here, many of you might be able to relate this one because you live in Taos. Making a poetry, porter, making a poetry, art. So this is the second, link, karma. This porter is making pots with different size, different shape, different design. In the same way, we create different karmas. Sometimes wholesome karma, sometimes unwholesome karma, sometimes neutral karma. Within the wholesome, there are many different levels. Within the unwholesome, different levels. So it's second due to this third one. There's a monkey jumping from one branch to another branch. That symbolizes the third link, the link of consciousness that carry the karmic imprint. Just as this monkey is jumping from this branch to here, this branch to here, this branch to there, this consciousness is carrying all the karmic seed from past to present, present to the futures. So that's the third link, consciousness. This is the fourth link, the known as name and form. And that symbolizes the 5 aggregates. And there is a board. Inside the board, there are people. They're riding board. So the board symbolize the physical aggregates, and people in that symbolize the other four mental aggregates of feeling, discrimination, compositional factor, and consciousness. So this symbolizes the name and form. Then the fifth, there is a house with a window, empty houses. And it symbolizes the fifth link, which is the six senses. You know, Other name and form, then it is six senses. And six senses, is like empty without the sense. The consciousness is unable to perceive and experience the objects. So it's like empty without that, And then this embracing two persons, I think it's a male and female embracing. So it's symbolized the 12, the sibling contact. So they are in contact coming together, symbolize the sixth link, the contact. Then here 7, it's not so clear. Normally there should be an arrow hitting on the eyes. And so that's feeling. So when you're arrow, you will have feeling with that, So that's symbolized after the contact, and it's the feeling, which is the 7 link. Here, someone is drinking a lot. Here is symbolized wine, is something in his hand, wine, drinking wine, and it symbolized the 8th one, craving. So when you have the wine or beer, you want little more, not being satisfied, craving. And so this is grasping, the 9th link. Monkey eating one fruit, trying it, throwing it, try another one, throw it, try another one, throw it. So again, not being satisfied with what is having. Grasping is when your craving has increased and become more intense. So not being really satisfied and hope this fruit is better than previous one, and it is not. And again, hoping the other one is better than previous one, and grabbing new one and trying and throwing it. So that symbolizes the grasping. And this one should be normally, with a belly. It is belly, but sometimes it's a little hard. It's a pregnant person. And that is the 10th, becoming or existence, And so it's like a pregnant, the mother is ready to give child any moment. Has reached the full pregnant. So all the cause and condition are come together to produce the child any moment. And here is giving birth. Because I think it's not good quality when I try to do what you call expand it, then you can't see so well. But it's giving birth, so that is 11. And then here the 12, someone is carrying the corpse, dead body. That is the death, aging and death. Normally it is also not only carrying the corpse, the dead body, but also the older person. So it symbolizes aging as well as the death. So that symbolizes 12 link and how, and 6 realms and the karma and the delusions. How to get out of there? How to get out of there? Then, so with this whole things, it explained in terms of 4 noble truth, the noble truth of suffering and noble truth of origin. the causes. How to get out of there is the next two noble truth, the noble truth of cessations and the path.
What was last?
Path.
Path.
Oh,
Cessations, the liberation is the goal, and path is that lead to that. And then here's the moon. This is the cloud, and there's the moon here. Normally, I think it's just full moon. Sometimes the artists they make their own things. You shouldn't have that. It should be full moon that symbolize liberations and that. And here the Buddha is showing hand towards that, pointing towards that. So saying if you want to achieve, that is the liberations. You should try to achieve that cessation, liberations. And then how to do is the path. And there is a verse here. Normally there's two verses. Is written, and that is the path. And in that verse, it says, you should practice the Dharma, and you should overcome, just as the wild elephant will kind of destroy the heart. In the same way, you should destroy all the attachment to this life and our future life, And if you put your effort in practicing that, the Eight Noble Path, in the practice of Eight Noble Path, then you will end the suffering by ending the root of those sufferings. So there is that verse. And so that is the path. The way to achieve that cessation is by actualizing the Eight Noble Path within yourself, by practicing the Eight Noble Path. So then, yeah. Okay. So,
Wonderful,
thank you.
Thank you.
okay, then we do the dedications.
Obstacles. Adrian, John, B, Mary Jane, Javier, Mary Jo, the 7 dogs and an owner, Louise Zapata, Kathleen, Matt B, Seth Brown, Alexandria, Michelle Weeks. For illness, Terry, Yoshi the dog, Lucky the dog, Hillary B, Barbara Conklin, Gail, Patty and Bill, Astrid, Stella, Rolf, Sarah H, Alejandro G, Zia, Tegan, Alexia, Joni Lutz. For death, Yolanda, the snake on the road, Mog, John B, Jamie's dog, Donna, Stephen K, the skunk, Frank, Dorothy, Neoma, Tyler, Downs.
Yeah, could I add to one? Name is Andy. And I could write it.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, and so for our dedication prayers, due to the merits of these virtuous actions,
Yeah, quickly attain the state of Buddha, and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state.
may
This is the true of Chitta, that has not prevented us to grow. It may have riches of no diminish, but increase more.
long life prayers for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The wish
Wish
granted,
wish for the jewel. For our gladness and no benefit and happiness is throughout. To be incomparable and kind of things to be done with solicitude. May our holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled.
prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Fearless teacher, appreciate Buddha,
All the objects of refuge on infinite lands. These bestow the virtue and goodness accomplish this prayer here and now. Holy and inspiring the Buddhist, precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience as it were discouraged. Incomparable and overwhelming to your make request. While striving single-minded for the sake of victorious constitutions, the soul gave way through which all life is in rush, and for the love of meekness, you suddenly divided your peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of blessings the portion of victorious, the great waves of Bodhicitta to the victorious ones. May the smile of reincarnation swiftly being avoided for watching signs.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
And next week it will be on Zoom, and the week after that we wouldn't have even in Zoom, and then after that we will be in person.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who sees this? Have you met him recently?
About a couple of weeks ago, but I talked to him a couple of days ago. He's going through